Hola! In this video, I'm just going to do a quick overview of the vocabulario de capítulo 1, chapter 1, vocab. Hola, ¿qué tal? So some saludos y despedidas. Saludos are greetings and despedidas are your departures or your goodbyes. Some ways that you might greet someone. Hola, buenos días, buenas tardes, or buenas noches. Notice that each one could be used at a different time of day. But hola is a great general greeting that you could use any time of day. Some expressions you might use upon departing from a conversation or when you're leaving after visiting with someone. Adiós, nos vemos, hasta luego, hasta la vista, hasta pronto, hasta mañana. Saludos a or chao. Notice that you could use adiós or chao in pretty much any general situation. If you know you're not going to see them again or you're not sure when you'll see them again, you might just use one of these expressions. Ciao might be a little informal, so you might want to reserve that, just using it among friends. Nos vemos, hasta luego, hasta la vista, hasta pronto, hasta mañana. These indicate that you might see the person at some point in the near future. Notice that hasta is used in several of these. Hasta literally means until. So what you're really saying when you say hasta luego is until later. Hasta pronto, until soon. So you're given an indication that you're going to see them or until the next time you see them. Saludos a is what one might use if you would like to extend greetings to someone, perhaps a family member or a friend that person is going to go back and see. Saludos a Paula, por favor, if I want you to send greetings to our friend Paula. So let's practice. What would be the appropriate greeting for each of these situations? Número uno, son las 8 de la mañana. Right? You want to greet someone 8 o'clock in the morning. If you said buenos días, correcto. Número dos, you're leaving. You're going to see the person a little later, though. Hasta luego. Sí. Número tres, you're just arriving to an afternoon lunch date with a friend. If you said buenas tardes, correcto. Buenas tardes because it is the afternoon. La tarde. La tarde is the afternoon. You're departing and you're not sure when you're going to see the person again. Adiós works perfectly fine in any situation. Número cinco, you wish to send greetings to your friend's wife. Saludos a la señora Torres, por favor. Right? Greetings to Mrs. Torres, please. Asking and telling how you're doing. Depending on the situation, whether you're speaking formally or informally with the person, you might choose one of these expressions. ¿Cómo está usted? Is wanting to know how you are doing if you're speaking to someone in a formal situation, someone with whom you might use a title with. ¿Cómo estás? Is going to be utilized when you're speaking informally or a little bit more casual conversation, someone that you're friends with, someone you call by first name. Okay. Some expressions to respond to those might be muy bien, gracias, or bien, gracias. No muy bien if you're not doing so well, or regular if you're just kind of okay, so-so. And if you're just speaking in a casual conversation, you might use the expressions que hay de nuevo, que pasa, or que tal. These might be more appropriate to be used among friends. You're just simply wanting to know how's it going, what's going on. And these also might be responded with bien, or nada, or regular, or any of these expressions that you think might be appropriate. Using titles. When addressing someone or referencing someone, you might use a title, Mr., Mrs., Sir, or Ma'am. When using them to address someone, you might translate that as Sir or Ma'am, or Miss. When using them as a title, we might consider Mr., Mrs., or Miss. Right? So some examples. Anytime you are describing a male, you are using the title Sir or Mr. for a male. Any age, you would use Señor. Señora is going to be utilized for a female who's typically older and most likely married. Señorita generally is going to be someone who's young, any young female, as well as a female who isn't married, especially a younger female, or 20s, early teen or late teens who's unmarried. And then don y doña are typically going to be reserved for those who are older, those with whom you want to maybe show a little more respect for. So Don y doña reserved for those, typically much older, and depending on the situation and the culture, of course, that's coming from, in the country from which you're speaking, they might choose to use those titles more often than others. Expresiones de cortesía. When we're wanting to show courtesy, be polite, here are a few expressions we could use. Con permiso is appropriate if you want to get someone's attention, you would like to maybe pass by someone. Perdón is another great expression when saying excuse me. If you are apologizing for something, lo siento works just fine in many situations. Gracias or muchas gracias when you're thanking someone for something or you're very thankful, muchas gracias. And a great response to that could be de nada or no hay de qué. If you would like to ask someone for something, por favor is a great polite way of doing so. So let's review those. You want to thank someone for a gift. Gracias works just fine. You need to pass by someone who's in line. You might say, con permiso. You're apologizing because you dropped something. You might say, lo siento. Someone just thanked you for great service and you're responding. De nada. And you want to politely request or ask for something. Por favor. Asking and telling where you're from. If you're speaking to someone in a more formal situation, you would use ¿De dónde es usted? Literally, from where are you? If you're speaking to someone in a more informal, friendly situation, someone you use a first name with, you would say ¿De dónde eres? Or ¿De dónde eres tú? When responding and telling where you're from, you will say soy de. Let's watch the first part of the video and notice whether they're using the formal or informal forms, and notice how they're responding. So you notice here right away they're using the informal form to ask, where are you from? Soy de Costa Rica. Él es de Costa Rica. He says, soy de Costa Rica. I am from Costa Rica. So if I ask you, ¿de dónde es él? ¿De dónde es él? You might respond, es de Costa Rica. He's from Costa Rica, right? So what do you think he means when he says, ¿y tú? He's just told where he's from after being asked, and now he is responding. ¿Y tú is a great way to simply just turn the question back around and say, and you? I'm just asking the person the same question they asked me, so I might use that expression, ¿y tú? So just to review, when asking someone their name, you might say, ¿Cómo te llamas tú? In an informal situation, or ¿Cómo se llama usted? In a formal situation. Now practice responding to the question. ¿Cómo te llamas? Me llamo, and then you give your name. Notice that me llamo literally means I call myself. So ¿Cómo te llamas? Is asking, how do you call yourself? ¿Cómo se llama usted? How do you call yourself? Be careful not to say me llamo es. I see this mistake made a lot. And remember, me llamo is I call myself. So you're simply going to say me llamo followed by your name. And then finally, as mentioned, you can re-extend that question to someone who's asked it of you by saying y tú or y usted, depending on the situation. When meeting someone for the first time or introducing others to each other, here are some expressions we can use. You've just met someone. They ask your name. You ask their name. You've exchanged those pleasantries. Now, mucho gusto. I'm pleased to meet you. El gusto es mío. Encantado or encantada. These are some general expressions you could use in order to say basically nice to meet you. Notice that encantado has two forms. For males, they would use encantado. If I am a male and using the male masculine form for myself, I would use encantado. If I am using the feminine form for myself, I would use encantada. This corresponds with the person who is speaking, not to whom you are speaking. So notice if you are a male, you would use encantado. when you are saying nice to meet someone. If you are a female, you would use encantada. So in any situation where I met someone, I would say encantada. Once you've exchanged names and met each other and one has said mucho gusto, you might reply with igualmente. This can't really stand alone, but it can be used as a response to mucho gusto. Igualmente, likewise, same to you. If you are introducing friends and you are in a formal situation, whether it's a friend or a colleague, but you're introducing someone to someone else, you might say le presento a. If the person to whom you are speaking is someone in which you would speak to formally or use a title with, then you're going to say le presento a. Le presento a mi esposo. I present my husband to you, right? This is my husband. I would like to introduce my husband. Or te presento a mi amiga Paula. I present to you my friend Paula. I would like to introduce you to my friend Paula. I would use that in a friendly situation with someone with whom I'm going to use a first name. And then, of course, el nombre is name. So you could introduce someone or identify someone with el nombre. El nombre de mi amigo es Carlos. And then some palabras adicionales, palabras adicionales that we're going to be seeing. Some questions might be cuánto, de quién, or de quiénes. If you see any of these forms, cuántos, cuánto, cuántas, or cuánta, it wants to know how many or how much. You might see de quién for asking who does something belong to, and de quiénes for whom, if it's more than one. To whom do these belong to? So, de quién es el carro? Whose car is that? ¿De quién es el carro? Es el carro de Carlos, right? ¿De quiénes son las mochilas? Who are those backpacks? Who do they belong to? ¿De quiénes son las mochilas? Right? Son de los estudiantes. They're the students, right? I is just an impersonal expression that means there is or there are. You could say, hay un carro en el garaje. There is a car in the garage. Hay dos carros en el garaje. There are two cars in the garage. No hay simply means there isn't or there is not. And finally, el verbo ser. You're going to see the verbo ser used. It means to be. It means to be in certain situations. It could indicate identification, telling where someone is from, telling the time. It's also used for descriptions. So we're going to focus on the different forms that you might use in those situations. If I were talking about myself, telling I am, for example, describing myself as who I am or what my profession is. Yo soy profesora, right? If I'm talking to someone and saying you are a student, tú eres estudiante. Of course, that would be if I'm speaking to someone informally. If I am talking about someone else and describing someone, él es mi amigo. He's my friend. Ella es mi hija. She's my daughter. If I'm speaking to someone formally, I would also use es. Usted es profesor, ¿no? You are professor, yes? And nosotros somos, right? We are. Nosotros somos estudiantes. We are students. Vosotros sois. You all are. That's that informal form. Vosotros is used when we are talking to a group of people that are friends. It is typically only used in Spain and not used in other parts of the world. So something to be familiar with, but you're probably not going to utilize a lot. And then ellos or ellas son and ustedes son. Ustedes son, you all are. Ustedes son estudiantes. Ellos son mis amigos. Ellas son mis amigas. They are. And then finally, here are some nouns that are presented in this chapter. Be sure to go through those in your text. Be sure to go through the activities to review these nouns and perhaps practice by organizing them into categories. You might pause the video and jot these down and see if you can put those into categories for some extra practice. You're probably going to refer back to these nouns for some of your activities that you're going to be doing. Y ese es el fin. I hope you found this lesson to be helpful. And remember, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. Adiós. Hasta luego.